What's going on, guys? I know it's been kind of like a week or two since I gave any sort of update on the CRX or on the Integra. I know that I was telling you guys that I wanted to have the CRX ready to go before the end of November. Looking at the timeline, let's be 100% realistic, it's not going to happen for two reasons. First reason, I have a lot of attention to detail that I want to do on the CRX before I actually bring it out. And second reason, as most of you guys know, I had the issue with the Integra. The car is in 1,000 pieces, and if you follow my Instagram, you'll notice that I actually picked something up for a Black Friday sale. That was a little bit of a pretty penny, and I spent over, what was it, $1,300, $1,200 on just one thing. And yeah, so that's pretty much my main budget, I guess you could say, went towards the Integra for this month. So right now we're just trying to do like simple mods. Just today I drilled out the back of the manifold and I blocked off the IAC holes right there. I also went ahead and put the pressure regulator gauge right there, or the fuel pressure gauge right there. We also put the thermostat housing and everything where it needs to be. There's still a few things that we need to do in the engine bay. Today, specifically, what I'm gonna do, although it's already like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's starting to get dark. I really wanna take the fenders off since the hood is already off. I have this aircraft paint remover right here, which I just tested real quick right there. And I don't know where all the paint that came off of went, but it came off really easy, and then I scraped it off. And between that and a little bit of sanding, I think we can get these down to basically bare resin and bare carbon, and then we can start prepping this for re-clear. And another thing that I wanted to do was, while the fenders were off, basically just pull the OEM wiring off to the side under the dash and then have it run through the outside and under the fenders. That way it cleans this up a little bit. Not that we're going for like a super tuck look or anything, but this is definitely going to help it look a little bit better, and that's the kind of stuff that I like doing, especially on these simple builds. So without further ado, I'm just going to set the phone on time lapse and have you guys watch me take all this apart. Got the fenders taken off, just placed over the trash can right there. Some of that aircraft remover. Spray this small sections at a time, just let it sit for a minute or two. Now there are some imperfections in like the actual carbon underneath. Looks like this had a big chip or something. And I'm not really doing any resin or fiberglass repair to it. I'm just basically wanting to get the clear coat off and then do a fresh clear coat on it. It's just kind of coating or baking on there right now. You can see the clear coat starting to come off. Just a little scraper. Without even doing much pressure, because I only have one hand. You can see all of it coming off right there. So it works pretty well. I'm just gonna do like the top layer like that, and then finish it off with the hand sander, or the power hand sander. So I'd already been scraping a little bit and sanding a bit. Look at that. Look at all that clear coat we just scraped off with the gel, with the aircraft remover. Works wonders. You can see the carbon all underneath it. A little area right here, I went a little too hard, and I got some of the actual carbon off. I don't know where it was, but it was just a little bit that hit, which I'm just gonna make sure that I give some extra clear. It's not gonna be anything crazy because it's not a show car. I just wanted it to look a little bit more presentable than what it did. So this one's pretty much ready to get sanded. The other one, I'm gonna do the exact same thing, and then we can move over to the sanding of it. So I'm about halfway done getting rid of the paint on this fender. I think I've reached a stopping point for this fender right here. I'm pretty much degreasing it right now and getting it ready for paint. And I also have my hood right here that I let the aircraft remover, I actually got from the store, the liquid one rather than the spray model, because the spray one is a lot easier to misuse. This one you just lay it over like a gel and let it sit for like 10 minutes and it comes off super easy. You can see all of that clear coat taken off right there. One thing to note when you're doing this, you really need to wear gloves. I mean, I've gotten used to it over the years, but I mean, you can feel it burning your hands. I'm actually gonna put on gloves right now and finish this up while this is drying over there, and then I'll put a layer of, or a fresh coat of clear coat on there. Very first coat, very light. If you saw in the video, I actually used my propane torch just to like heat up the fender itself. Since it's kind of humid outside and really cold, it's not the good conditions to be painting. That's just what I did. And I mean, right here you can see the texture of the carbon is like at an angle, but it actually clears up very nice if you think about how it looked before. And this is just the first coat. Looking at it now, you can still see some scoring right here, and that's pretty much all across. I'm more than sure that that's just because of my lack of detail to the actual sanding, which makes me want to do this one a lot more fine sanding. I'm going to do a lot more heavy sanding just to get all the material off and then work my way up to a finer sanding grit. That way I avoid having the type of scoring that's down here. But unless you're really looking for it at a close range, you can't really tell from what I can see right now. But I'm really surprised, just one light coat and it looks super good. So I'm gonna let this dry for about 3 or 4 minutes. It says a few minutes between light coats on the can, so 3 or 4 minutes should be about that. And then I'll give it my second coat, another light one, and probably on the third I'll do like a medium coat just to have a nice finish to it. Okay, skip forward to the next day. Obviously, the ultra gloss effect that it has when the paint is still wet it died down a little bit, obviously, because that's just how clear coat works. And I found a big mess up on my part. Big drip right there, and a big drip, which happened overnight, because it wasn't there last night when I went away. I think right, where was it? Somewhere across the top as well. Basically, what the problem was that it dripped right there was for 2 reasons. I went a little bit heavy on the light coats, but more so I think it was because of the cold. It wasn't actually drying between coats as fast as it should. Aside from that, I also look at the prep. You can see a lot of the scoring. I didn't sand it with a fine enough sandpaper like I will do for the next ones, but that's just kind of, you know, the learning curve and whatnot. Right now I have this little space heater, which I just set it to 90 degrees. And it's starting to warm up a lot, and I think that'll help with the curing of it, although it's not 170 like a paint booth is, but it'll actually speed up the process a little bit compared to the 60 or 50 degrees that it is outside. So I just got done sanding the actual fender. I noticed a couple things. Right now I have it washed off and wet, that way you can kind of mimic what it's gonna look like once it's cleared. On this area right here, it has a lot of cracking on the resin itself. I think that if I had more time and experience with resin, I could actually maybe sand it down heavier and get to the actual carbon and resin itself and lay some fresh resin on. I'm not gonna worry about that. It doesn't look too bad. Now it's starting to dry a little bit, but it doesn't look too bad how it is just with the wet effect. So I'm gonna dry this off, degrease it, and then we can start throwing some clear coat on it. Obviously we have that little heater set up already, so I'm gonna set this around the heater. That way it's painted with a nice warm atmosphere around it. All right, so we have the first fender that we clear coated last night over top of the heater. It's at 90 degrees, that's the highest it can go. And you can actually feel that it's a lot warmer on the actual fender itself, and the whole area is warm as well. That's gonna help with the curing of it. I wish I could have done that between the coats yesterday, which is actually what we're gonna do once I get a first coat on this. This is all washed off, degreased and everything ready to go. So just like last night, I'm using the Rustoleam crystal clear enamel. I could have gone with some automotive 2K paint, although I couldn't find any locally, and I wanted to show you an easy way to do this at home with cheap paint that you can buy for $3. the first coat, we did a very light coat just to get basically a nice layer of clear. You can see it's very light, but just with that light coat, it already does a world of difference on it. All right, so I have both of the fenders here clear coated. The bottom one was the second one that we did, the top one was the first. In a couple days, we'll be able to wet sand that and make it all nice. Right here we have the hood. I'm about to start painting. It is gonna be a bit harder to do the hood since it is a large area to cover with just a small spray can. We're gonna do our best. Just right off the bat, we can see the resin is cracked in a whole bunch of places underneath, so it's not gonna have as clean as a finish as the bottom panel right there that I prepped nice and I painted over. But we're gonna try our best. Now this, like I said, is gonna be a little bit harder because it's a big area to cover, but you know, I'll try my best and trial and error. Very light first coat of clear. We'll see how it goes. That's just the first coat right there. And we'll let that dry for about 5 minutes and then I'll lay down the second coat. Second coat is on. It came off a little bit heavier because I switched to a brand new can rather than the can that was running out. So by nature, it comes out a little bit heavier. So I'm gonna let maybe 10 minutes between this coat and the next coat, and then I'll come back to it and throw a light third and hopefully a light fourth afterwards. That way it has a nice, good layer, a couple good layers, so then we can wet sand everything in a couple days. Third coat looking good. I got it actually a little bit lower right now with the heater right under it. That way it warms it up. It's looking really good. I was afraid that it was gonna run a little bit on this side. Like I said, I did a little bit heavier on the second coat, so I was worried about that, but it looks like it's holding pretty good since the heat's there. And yeah, I'm gonna let this dry for maybe 10 minutes or until it starts looking a little more dull. And I'll probably hit it with one last coat if I see that it's necessary. If not, then I'll let that dry. And as I was moving some stuff, I dropped the glass right there I have to clean up. But yeah. Okay, there's the fourth coat of clear onto the carbon hood. As you can see, there's a little bit of imperfection over there, but you can see it's a nice thick coat. This is all gonna get cleaned up as soon as we wet sand everything, which I'm probably gonna do in another video in a couple days. Just really wanted to get this out to you guys. If you guys aren't familiar with the channel, this is the all-wheel drive B series CRX that I'm building. So it's using a CRV all-wheel drive transmission, and it's a stroked out B22, basically a 2.2 liter B series with some big Delta cams, and yeah, to a little CRX. And I also have the Integra that's big on the channel. So if you haven't already seen the channel, make sure to check it out. Over the next couple of weeks, we are going to be releasing a lot more content for both of these cars, since I have a sleeve block on the way for this one, and we are going to be finishing the all-wheel drive setup on this car, as well as making sure the carbon fiber looks nice and good. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you for tuning into this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.